as of late, Lahud, the harmony to some degree was broken, especially in this last window. Germany looked like they were on the right path, but then a couple of things happened. Julian Nagelsmann himself, the manager of the national team, mentioned that Dennis Undav, who's arguably the best German striker at the moment, is a super sub. And then, that didn't sit well with the fans. The fans themselves booed Leroy Sané in the next game. So suddenly the waters are just a little bit more turbulent than they were before.
Yeah, it seems like Julian Nagelsmann is doing everything he can to just break that connection with German football fans, because even in World Cup qualification, there was a match against Northern Ireland where it just seemed like the German fans almost became a mob, because Germany did not look like Germany for 45 minutes. And it almost felt like everyone was saying, why did we get this guy? We should have gone after Jurgen Klopp. And I think the shadow of Jurgen Klopp, I know he's with Red Bull, but every time the German national team job comes up, he just gives a cheeky grin and says, I'm good for now. So he's a manager under immense pressure, but I think he's a manager that's really, it's kind of the divide between who he's loyal to and who's actually performing. Because there's so many players that he's been loyal to, and when you look at the recent results for Germany, this is not the Germany we're used to seeing. Not even getting out of the group stage. Not good enough for Germany. The standards have definitely been dropped on the field, but the expectations are still through the roof. My big question for Julian Nagelsmann is, I think he has more question marks than answers to his lineup going into the World Cup, which is something typically we do not have with the German national team.
2018 under Jurgen Klopp, 2022 under Hansi Flick, and then this 2024 Euro, I think what Julian Nagelsmann was able to do is regain a little bit of that hope that was lost in previous years, but not good enough. It was a big step in the right direction. But it just feels like all of a sudden there are some sort of questions, especially in the goalkeeping position. Marc-Andre ter Stegen is going to be a game-time decision, basically, to make this squad due to his injury. Nagelsmann himself said it was very, very unlikely he makes the World Cup squad, or at least is fit enough to play in the World Cup squad. So then you've got a veteran goalkeeper for Hoffenheim, Oliver Baumann, and then Alexander Nubel for Stuttgart. That is a big area of concern, just given the fact that perhaps it's not at the world-class goalkeeping standard that Germany usually has.
Yeah, the big thing and the big elephant in the room is Manuel Neuer, right? Retiring from international football and coming at a time where I think Julian Nagelsmann, if I'm Julian Nagelsmann and I watch that Real Madrid-Bayern Munich match, I usually do this for my pep talks, right? I would be doing this. Please, for the love of God, come back to the national team. I would be doing
that. Wasn't that smooth, the way that you got back? I thought you were working on your mobility a little bit more, Lou. Neuer has been working on his mobility, though. But I do want to ask you, though, don't you think it's a little bit of recency bias? Like against Freiburg, he wasn't that good. There were moments in distribution yesterday that at the beginning of the match, he wasn't that good. Perhaps we shouldn't look into just one performance from Manuel Neuer, a 40-year-old?
The Santiago Bernabeu, I mean, he has enough credit in the bank with the German national team 10 times over. One goalkeeper that I think will be the goalkeeper of the future. I don't think Baumann will be the goalkeeper when we get to the Euros. It's Jonas Ervig. He is the future of Bayern Munich, and he'll be the future of the German national team. So many people I talk to on the ground in Germany keep saying this kid is for real.
Rafa, so considering everything we've just discussed, is Germany World Cup ready?
I don't think so. We're not ready to win. I think we're ready to compete. I think we can go into the quarterfinals, maybe into the semis if we get lucky, but I don't see this team being quite there when it comes to challenging the likes of France, Spain, maybe even Argentina, Brazil. We'll have to wait and see, but there's a difference between a team that's coming there to win, that has the confidence, the rhythm, the sense of coherence, and everyone knowing what they're doing, and all the open questions that you just mentioned. And it just feels that too many issues are unresolved. Now, I have to say, I remember going into every single big tournament in the last few years, even the successful ones, and thinking Germany have problems. And you tend to sort of overestimate your own issues and forget that other countries also have problems. But this time, there is a real lack of momentum, positive momentum, on the back of those 2 friendlies we played, some of the issues you mentioned, and all the unresolved, formational, positional, personnel issues that Nagelsmann needs to sort out still.
Rafa, I mean, you could go from the goalkeeping position, as you mentioned, the personnel issues. I mean, the back line. I mean, there's so many question marks up top as well. But when you take a step back in terms of expectations meeting reality, what does success look like for the Mannschaft at the World Cup this summer?
I think a Germany team cannot be happy unless they make it into the semi-finals. The quarters in the Euros, people kind of put up with it because they found, a vent for their frustration in the handball from Cucurella against Spain, and it was a close game. So people thought, okay, we could have won, and Spain were the best team, so we did okay. But I don't think another quarterfinal exit would be seen as sufficient. And that puts Nagelsmann and the team in a difficult spot, because we saw the recent World Cup exploits have been very poor. They didn't even make it out of the group stage. And I feel quarterfinal, if I'm not entirely mistaken, I think we could meet France, and that could be the end of it. So there's a very thin line when you're a team like Germany to say, what is acceptable and what isn't. I think quarterfinal in itself is not. They have to make the semifinals to be this positive tournament that we've been waiting for now since 2014. It's a long time.
Rafa, I want to ask about the captain, Joshua Kimmich, because he's been playing right back, and I feel like this is the eternal discussion point, not only for the German national team, but for Bayern Munich as well. But clearly in this post-Toni Kroos and Ilkay Gundogan era of Germany, there's not that rhythm maker that is Joshua Kimmich in the midfield. Is there a possibility that he slots in? Is Julian Nagelsmann sold at him playing right back? And what does Germany lose by having him play in that position?
Well, Julian Nagelsmann told us 12 months ago that Joshua Kimmich is one of his 2 starters in midfield. But Julian Nagelsmann told us a month ago that he's going to be his right back. So Nagelsmann himself has not been consistent in this. He feels that the need on the right side of the fence is greater than the problems in midfield, where there are admittedly other players of similar quality. I say similar because you only had to see what he did at Real Madrid last night to understand that Kimmich is a one-off in terms of the pace setting, the control, the vision. He brings everything that you need. And it would be quite insane, I think is probably the right word, if Bayern were to go on and win the Champions League with Joshua Kimmich being, the best midfielder in the best team in Europe, and Nagelsmann deciding, no, for me, he's a right back. I mean, I don't buy it. I think he will be okay against Curaçao with the greatest of respect. I think Ivory Coast as well, Ecuador as well. It probably doesn't matter all that much. But once you come up against the top side, and then you have your best midfielders out as a right back, where he will be exposed because he's not the quickest players, and we saw the problems he had against Vinicius when he played right back for Tuchel 2 years ago in the Bernabeu. I don't think it's the answer. And I hope that Nagelsmann will change again, because I think he needs to be at the fulcrum of this Germany team.
Rafa, one of the more head-scratching decisions and comments that Julian Nagelsmann has made has been about Dennis Undav. And we've talked about Dennis Undav on the show. We've talked about Dennis Undav on Scoreline. I mean, Dennis Undav clearly is the most informed German footballer right now in the Bundesliga and in world football, and especially among strikers. So I want to get your perspective on the recent comments made by Nagelsmann, where in a match at Stuttgart, where Dennis Undav plays, Undav comes off the bench, scores a winning goal, and Nagelsmann comes out when he could have said anything but what he said, which is, yeah, he's a bench player. I mean, what is going on in that, and why does he not rate him?
I can't answer that. I can't give you a good answer. Nagelsmann has decided that he's going to take a page out of the book of the German basketball national team, who won the World Cup last year, with a system where everybody knew whether they're starting or subs or just mere squad players. And he's told players in advance that this is going to be. And he told Undav, you're not going to be a starter. Now, you can do all that. But then the guy does come on and he scores the winning goal against Ghana. And then Nagelsmann does something hardly seen at any level of coaching, let alone at national team manager. He spends half the press conference telling people how bad Undav has played. and then topping that by saying, well, if he'd started, he probably would have been too tired by this point to score that goal. So, I mean, really casting aspersions about his fitness, about his suitability. Now, deep down, I think we all understand that Nagelsmann prefers a different type of striker. He likes Havertz, who links up with the midfield, and he did it very well at the Euros. He likes Woltemade, who can do similar stuff despite being very tall. He doesn't like Undav because Undav doesn't contribute much and is just, in inverted commas, a goal scorer. But you often need goal scorers. We saw Füllkrug being very important at the last World Cup, at least in the group stage until Germany got knocked out. We saw sometimes you need something a bit more direct and different. Now, I don't think it serves any purpose apart from Nagelsmann sort of justifying his stance and being stubborn to speak about one of your players that way. And things can change very quickly. We all know in tournaments, things change quickly. There's an injury, somebody gets suspended, you have to change because somebody's out of form. And then suddenly the player that you've told now for the last 6 months he will not start is a starter. So I don't understand what purpose it serves. And I think he's doing himself and the team a big disservice communicating in that fashion.
Rafa, yesterday I was at dinner with the CEO of Panini, you know, the sticker books for the World Cup, and I told him we were going to do this segment, and he told me to ask you if he should make the Manuel Neuer sticker for this World Cup, or he should just consider not producing that.
I think if he does the sticker, that would be great news in the German media, because the outcry for Manuel Neuer to come back has only become bigger on the back of his heroics against Real Madrid. But there is a story here that perhaps is not so apparent to those who only casually follow the German national team or German football on the whole. It's that Nagelsmann and Neuer don't get on very well. And that goes back to his time at Bayern, when Nagelsmann, while Neuer was injured, fired his confidant and goalkeeping coach. And since then, Neuer has been very vocal about how much that hurt him and how out of order he felt that decision was. And unless Nagelsmann comes back, cap in hand, saying, I'm really sorry, I made a mistake, I need you back, nothing's going to happen. And he hasn't done that. And that's why we're at this situation where the best keeper in Germany, still at age 40, is in all likelihood, again, unless some miracle or disaster befalls the other goalkeepers, is not going to be there. And it's a bit of a shame, because as good as the other players are that you mentioned, no one is quite at the level as Manuel Neuer is, with the possible exception of Jonas Urbik, Neuer's number 2. But Nagelsmann can't pick him because he doesn't get regular game time at Bayern. He can't start for Germany, not being a starter for Bayern. So that's where we are. And again, watch this space. If Bayern go all the way in the Champions League, or at least significantly further, the pressure on Nagelsmann will rise further as well.
Thanks for watching this video from Morning Footy. For all news and insights regarding leagues around the world like EFL, Serie A, and all UEFA competitions, both men's and women's, don't forget to sign up for Paramount+.